So you want to localize your iOS or Mac app, but you know how repetitive and time-consuming the process is. Well, TraductoPro is the answer. TraductoPro is the most powerful and most complete localization tool on the market. With TraductoPro, you can not only localize your iOS or Mac app in little to no time, but you can also localize your app's metadata for the App Store, as well as your press releases, marketing emails, web content, or anything you want to translate. TraductoPro has a built-in translation service that allows you to submit your translation orders right from within the app and have actual human translators translate your content or Xcode strings. So let's get started. You're now looking at the TraductoPro's home screen. TraductoPro supports three kinds of projects. Document. This is what you would use to translate any kind of document you want, whether it's press release, email marketing, and so forth. App Store information. This is what you would use to localize your app's metadata for the App Store. And Xcode project. This is what you would use to automate your Xcode project localization. Many developers make the mistake of thinking about localization mostly from an app's point of view. But you should really think about localization from a marketing point of view, because this could help increase your sales. So users will find your app, first and foremost, by its name, keywords, and description. So your localization initiatives should actually start with the App Store information. That's the first thing that users see about your app. And that's the reason why TraductoPro has provided you with the ability to localize your App Store information as well. So let's start with creating an App Store information project for our International Mountain sample code. This is an iOS project, so let's select iOS and then click Create. Our default language is English, but you can choose any language that you want. As a trick, you might want to consider localizing your app's metadata in as many languages as possible, even if your actual app only supports a few. This will help maximize your exposure in the global market. The first screen you see after creating your project is the default language screen. This is where you add, edit, and update your content for the App Store. As you can see, TraductoPro also supports byte count to help you stay within the limits of the App Store. Let's enter some sample data for our app. Keywords would be mountains, hills, forests, for instance. Beautiful mountains app. So in the name section, you can enter your app name. Under the keywords, you can put your app's keyword for the App Store and your descriptions in the descriptions field. You can also use the update field to add, release notes as you update your app. The good thing is Traducto allows you to keep this at all times, and you can add multiple rows in each of these by either selecting a row and typing enter, or by clicking add and selecting which section you want to add a row to, and add additional information. For example, if I decide to have multiple descriptions, I can still have my alternate description here and keep all my content localized and use whatever I want when I think it's appropriate. Once you're done editing your default language, you can click done, and now you are presented with a dashboard. The dashboard of your project is that space where you manage your languages. So here we're going to add, let's say we're going to add a few languages such as German. We're going to add French. We're going to add Chinese. What about Spain as well? And maybe a fifth one, such as Japanese. So now you have your languages here, and you have the choice between manually translating your content or ordering translation. If I want to manually translate my content, all I have to do is click on the edit pencil here. Now I can view the language translation. I can expand each of the categories and add my translation myself. For example, montagne internationale. You can actually even partially translate your content and order translation for anything else. I highly recommend using this field to give more context to the translator. For example, you can say whatever is relevant, whatever will help the translator understand what this is about. You can also take some screenshots and share them online and paste the URLs there if you want to provide screenshots for your app. Now I'm done. As you can see, my French is 25% complete. Now if I need help with the other languages, all I have to do is click the add to cart, and then I can have it added to the cart, add to cart, add to cart, and I'm ready to order them. If you can also order the rest of the French if you wish, or click on the add to cart again to remove it from the cart. Once you have your App Store information done, the next thing is, let's create an Xcode project. This is an iOS app. And now we go. Now we are presented with a screen, with the import screen. This is where we can either drag and drop or select or browse our Xcode project. So let's go ahead and open it here and drag it and drop it. There we go. Now we have dropped our International Mountains Xcode project. TraductoPro has identified that the default language is English. You can see the path right there. And if you selected the wrong project and you need to change it, you can click select, and then it brings you back to that screen again. So let's go ahead and select it one more time. Now, Traductor automatically scans your source code, your Xcode project folder to see if you have any existing localization. Now here's a trick. If you have any existing LProj folders, they will be listed right here. So it's up to you to know whether any existing LProj is an actual localization or whether it's just a duplicate created by Xcode when you added your languages. If it's just a duplicate, then you can just disregard this. But if you know that your project was localized before, maybe by yourself or a different company, and you have partially translated strings, then it's a good idea to import the existing localization. So let's go ahead and see here. The first option is micronization. Now, many people do not think about localization until the last minute. If you are one of those and you realize that you now have to make all your strings localizable, don't worry, Traducto got you covered. One cool feature that we added to TraductoPro is the macronization. With macronization, you no longer need to worry about manually adding string loading macros to your code to make them localizable. TraductoPro will do it for you. All you have to do is check the box for macronization, and we'll take care of it. If you have existing localization, you should also check the box for import existing localization. Click there for more information. Once you are ready to import, you can go ahead and click on Import Project for Translation. The first screen that you're going to see is the micronization. Now, Traducto went into your code and scanned to see are there any strings that need to be localized. Now you wonder, how do I know TraductoPro will get it right? How does it know which strings to make localizable? TraductoPro automatically detects strings in your code that need localization. It automatically filters out strings that are already localized and any other irrelevant strings such as logs. Then it shows you a list of the strings that should be localized and gives you the option to disregard any strings you want to be left alone before actually injecting the string loading macros into your code. So you have a chance to review that list of strings before the app goes ahead and modify your code. So here you can see that we found a few strings that need localization. You can deselect the full category or just some of them. So here we're going to say that yes, I want to localize height, And maybe I can, yeah, maybe that's good enough. And I want to localize also the name, and I'm going to add a comment, for example, saying app name, and that's the value. And maybe we can call this name tag. One cool thing about this screen is you can actually see anytime you click on anything, we show you the actual source code, so you can see the context at any time. Just select any row and we show you directly in the code what it looks like. That's very handy. If you have second thoughts, you can click skip and skip the macronization. Otherwise, you click inject, and then we're going to go ahead and inject the macros. Obviously, you have a warning, so you can again have a chance to opt out. So TraductoPro goes ahead and does the injection work, and then it continues on with the actual import. Now, in this particular case, we have a warning. Traductor starts by importing your actual physical files in your lproj before trying to extract strings from the code. So in some cases, there could be discrepancies, and if there is, that's when you're going to get a warning. So the warning here says that we already have in the system the existing values here, the values under the existing column, and now when we scan the code to extract strings from it, it looks different. So you shouldn't panic here. This happens when someone, for instance, goes and manually creates their localizable.strings file. You know, like let's say if someone goes and manually creates their localizable.strings file and start putting in different things, like here, you know, their own values. Well, because Traductor imports this file first before going and extract from the code, then the values will be different and you get a warning. If you know that you want to keep maintaining this manually with your values, then you should just, you know, disregard this and then say no. You know, I don't want to update TraductoPro with the new values. Then we're going to keep these values that were in your file at the time of import. So let's say no. But if you are one of those who keeps, for example, some people, for instance, keep their key values the same. For instance, someone would have the key values like this. If this is the way that you coded your strings with the NSLocalized string macro, then you should definitely let Traducto import the new values so that every time the values are imported directly from your code as opposed to from this file. I recommend to keep things automatic. Let Traducto help you automate everything by not having to manually maintain files. So as long as your strings are in such a way that everything is in your code, then you will never have to manually maintain anything, and Traducto will always import things directly from your code. And there you go.